Accounting reports. So, ano lang siya, no? Preview lang siya. You have the income statements, the balance sheet, statement of changes in owner's equity, and the cash flow statements. So the income statement shows the results of operations. So ito yung tinatawag nilang profit and loss. So kumita ba siya or nalugi. Balance sheet is the continuous improvement of the account. Okay, mali. Balance sheet is statement of financial position. So it shows the financial condition or financial position. So I'll just correct that. Statement of changes in owner's equity supplements the balance sheet. It shows the decrease or increases in the equity of the owners. And cash flow shows the sources or inflows and outflows of cash. Next, you have the generally accepted accounting principles or the GAAP, concepts and assumptions. So medyo iba lang siya ng konti sa book natin. It's a more complete version. So what are these? The GAAP. They are rules of action or conduct which are adopted by accountants universally while recording accounting transactions. So there are three. You have the accounting assumptions. So what is an accounting assumption? They are practices and customs which have been agreed and adopted by the accounting industry over time. So nagkasundo-sundo kami dyan. Tayo. Then you have the concepts. They offer a more specific guidance on how particular business transactions should be related to the financial statements. And the constraints. They modify and constrain accounting assumptions. So ito yung parang nag-check and balance. So tatlo sila. They work hand in hand. Concepts and standard in certain situations. So you can also say that it is an accounting standards in a way. But ito yung pinaka-names nila. Assumptions, concepts, and constraints. So first we start with the assumptions. Some of them are in the book. So you have the money unit. Accounting records only those facts that can be expressed in monetary terms. So kung nasa Pilipinas ka din, dapat peso. If you're in the US, it must be in dollars. Business entities. Accounts are kept for entities as distinguished from the persons associated with the entities. Ibig sabihin, you have a separate personality from the business, from the owners. So the entity, the business as an entity, can acquire properties in its own name, and it can be sued or it can sue. Pwede nga kasuhan or pwede siyang makasuhan. Unless it's a sole proprietorship. Ikaw mismo. You are the business and you are the entity. So let's say ako, si John Michael Versosa, I am a sole proprietor. Ako ang kakasuhan, hindi si Versosa Trading. Ako. Because walang separation of entity. And also, I have unlimited liability. Going concern, an entity will continue to exist indefinitely, and that is not about to be liquidated. So, under this concept, it is assumed that the business that the entity will continue operations indefinitely. Ayan nga. This is necessary for the proper valuation of the properties of the business. Time period. Accounting measures activities for a specific period of time. So usually 1 year, pero it depends on the business. I Okay. Okay. Accounting principles. So you have the realization or the accrual basis of accounting. Revenues are recognized only when they are reasonably certain, whereas expenses are recognized as soon as they are reasonably possible. Pag sure na marireceive mo yung pera o yung revenue mo, saka mo lang siya i-record or i-recognize. The expenses are recognized or recorded when incurred, whether paid or not, and the revenue is recognized, whether when earned, whether collected or not. Matching. When a given event affects both revenues and expenses, the effect on each should be recognized in the same accounting period. Disclosure. All necessary, relevant, and material information should be reported in this principle for transparency. Lahat ng mga kailangan, lahat ng mga mahalaga, at lahat ng mga material information, tangible information should be reported in this principle. And historical costs. So the assets, properties or assets required must be recorded at the actual acquisition cost and not an estimated cost. So kung binili mo yung bahay at 10 million, you have to record it at 10 million, not as an estimate like 12 million or 15 million. Kailangan ko ano yung amount itself. And last is the accounting constraints. You have the dual aspect. So every transaction affects at least two items and preserves the fundamental equation wherein assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. So ito yung basic accounting equation which will be discussed on the next chapter. Materiality. Insignificant events may be disregarded. So ibig sabihin ng material, lahat ng significant. But there must be full disclosure. So parang ano lang siya. Yung matching. Full disclosure. So tandem lang sila. Prudence or conservatism. Revenues are recognized only when they are reasonably certain, whereas expenses are recognized as soon as they are reasonably possible. And then the other two is consistency and objectivity. So on consistency, once an entity has decided on a certain accounting period, it will use the same method for all subsequent transactions and events of the same character unless it has a sound reason to change methods. So dapat hindi, as much as possible, hindi ka magbabago ng iyong methods. No? Yun nga, ito yung caveat niya. Unless it has a sound reason. Kung kailangan talaga magbago din, wala na choice. And objectivity, transactions recorded or amounts reported can be verified through supporting documents. These are necessary to maintain the trust, faith, and confidence of the users and readers on the financial statements. Government regulatory agencies applicable to accounting, you have PRC, the Board of Accountancy, FRSC, or Financial Reporting Standards Council, Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, Cooperative Development Authority, BIR, and the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Bago na yung logo ng BSP. So, magugulat siguro kayo. Change logo raw sila. Here they are. So, PRC, they are in charge of administering the professional examination. Lahat ng professional degrees except law, which is under the Supreme Court. Regulating and licensing of professionals, promulgation and enforcement of professional ethics and standards. So pag halimbawa, si accountant, may ginawang kabulastugan, then PRC. Swaying at yun. Next, the Board of Accountancy is in charge of conducting semi-annually the CPA board examination. So under siya, the PRC. It is likewise in charge of regulating the practice of accountancy. So yun nga, under the jurisdiction, the PRC. FRSC is in charge of formulating or developing the accounting standards which will guide CPA practitioners. CPA. SEC is in charge of regulating the business operations of a partnership, corporation, and foundation. So pag sole proprietorship ka lang, DTI will be. DTI and PIR. Then CDA is in charge of regulating the business operations of a cooperative. And BIR, of course, best friend natin, taxes, collection of taxes. DSP is in charge of regulating the operations of banks. So pag bangko naman, under ka ni DSP. And other financial institutions. Fields of accounting, so you have public, private, and government. So si public, accounting can practice their profession by rendering professional services for a fee. So yan yung si CPA. Private accounting, accounting can be employed in any private firm in any capacity or position requiring accounting knowledge. And government accounting, accountants can be employed in any government agency or in any capacity or position, ganun pa rin, requiring accounting knowledge. Government lang, napalitan lang. Or the RA 9298. So medyo kinuha ko lang ano siya, no? Law format. Pero ito yung mga ano natin, focus. Okay. So objectives, that these actions provide for and govern standardization and regulation of accounting education, examination for registration of CPAs, and supervision, control, and regulation of the practice of accountancy in the Philippines. Kaya nagkaroon ng RA 9298. The scope of practice. So you have the public accountancy. Discussed na kanina. Practice in commerce and industry. It's on the book already. So I will not delve on it. You can just read it. And practice in education or academe and practice in the government. So yun yung apat, the big four. Public, private or commerce, education, and government. And then section 13 discusses the certified public accountant examinations. So pwede na natin discuss to. All applicants for registration for the practice of accountancy shall be required to undergo a licensure examination to be given by the board in such places and dates as the commission may designate, subject to compliance with the requirements prescribed by the commission in accordance to the Republic Act 8981. And then section 14, qualifications. So ano po ba yung qualifications para makapag-board ka? So kailangan, first and foremost, you are a Filipino citizen. Second, of good moral character. Third, you are a graduate or a holder of the degree of BSA, Bachelor of Science in Accountancy, conferred by a school, college, academy, or institute duly recognized and or accredited by the CHED or other authorized government offices. And number 4, has not been convicted of any criminal offense involving moral turpitude. An NBI clearance is now required. So kung nakapatay ka, nagnakaw ka, or meron kang sinuntok, no, criminal offense, convicted. Kung allegation lang or napatunayan kang not guilty, then it doesn't count. Section 15, scope of examination. Ano ba yung mga lalabas or anong topics? Licensure examination for a certified public accountant shall cover but not limited to the following subjects: theory of accounts, business law and taxation, management services, auditing theory, auditing problems, practical accounting problems 1 and 2. Ito. The board, subject to the approval of the commission, may revise or exclude. So pwede pa rin magbago. Pwede nila tanggalin si auditing problems if they want or magdagdag pa ng another. So ratings. So kailangan meron kang general average of 75% with no grades lower than 65. So medyo mahirap-hirap po, no? In any given subject. In the event the candidate obtains the rating of 75% and above in at least a majority of subjects, pero meron siyang 50 kunwari, he or she shall receive a conditional credits for the subjects passed, provided that the candidate shall take an examination in the remaining subjects within 2 years. So I think yun yung beauty ng accountancy. No? So let's say 75 ka pero meron kang isang subject na naka 60 ka lang, then you can retake it within 2 years. Provided further that if the candidate fails to obtain at least the general average of 75% and a rating of at least 65%, then ulit, no? Pag hindi mo nagawa siya within 2 years, yung lower than 65 mo, then you are considered as failed. So sir, paano kung pandemic, inabutan ka ng pandemic? Well, it depends on the years. But that's the least of our concerns. Prohibition in the practice of accountancy. No person shall practice accountancy in this country or use the title certified public or accountant or use the abbreviated title CPA or display or use any title, sign, advertisement, or other device to indicate such person practices or offers to practice accountancy or is a certified public accountant unless such person shall have received from the board a certificate of registration professional license. And we issue the professional identification card or a valid temporary special permit duly issued to him or her by the board and the commission. Mahaba po, no? Pero ito yun. In a nutshell, you cannot add a CPA to your name if you're not a CPA. You cannot broadcast yourself as a certified public accountant if you're not a certified public accountant. Pwede kang kasuhan. No? Let's say si Ramon Ang. Sinabi niya Ramon Ang CPA is my name. And he's not a CPA. Pwede niya siyang kasuhan. You can only use the title CPA, the abbreviated title, or the official title as certified public accountant kung meron kang lisensya. Given by the Board of Accountancy and the PRC license. And thank you very much.